Any reflections this weekend, or is it just me? Because if it's just
I
me,
always
this
have
makes sense.
reflections.
So you okay within this topic?
Yeah, let's do it. It's recording.
All right, just making sure.
Hey.
All right, thanks again everyone for tuning in. This is Ryan and George again. We wanted to try something different for today's podcast. We're just going to do more of a reflection style, right, George?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Do
So,
some reflections.
yeah, because I know the first week was on article reviews. Second week was on a theme. I thought this time we'd do more of a free-flowing conversation and just talk about what we've experienced this weekend.
Sure.
So, with that, I'll toss it over to you. What's been a big thing this weekend that really stuck with you, though? Because when I first saw you today, it
Yeah.
seemed like you were a lot more at ease. And
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. I feel like being around people who are in a similar mindset at you or going through the same thing, and then like sharing and talking about each other's struggles and relating to each other just makes it feel like you're not alone. So for example, I didn't just meet this guy, but there's a good friend of mine named Andrew Cho, right? And so I've never actually really got close to this guy before, but for some reason, like this weekend, okay, got a booger. Okay, anyways, for some reason, like we met up and we went to Beta Breakers, and then we got banh mi sandwiches at Saigon Sandwich, and afterwards we hit up a coffee shop, met with another friend. But it's just like between you, just like you and me, whenever it's like you start talking to each other and you realize that you're both at like a similar stage in life where you're both trying to improve yourself, grind and perform really well at work, and you, in a sense, like I'm like going to ramble, but when I first talked to him, I was willing to be like vulnerable and just like share what was going on with me, and him he was willing to do the same. It was just like two people who are willing to be vulnerable with each other, and then you realize that you're on a similar wavelength, just like timeline in a sense where like what you're doing in life, and then you just connect, and then you just feel a little bit more lighter hearted because he's going through similar struggles, and then at the same time he's finding like the light at the end of the tunnel. For example, just like a work-life balance, and realizing that he needs to not stress so much about work. And then, yeah, I'm rambling, but that's what happened this weekend, just now, like 2 hours ago, and I enjoyed that. It was a great time.
so if I had to recap that, it was a matter of meeting someone that's on the same timeline as you, but at the same time, is it true that that helps reaffirm that you're not alone in this world in terms of your struggles or what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's funny because it's just like my experience in SF has been a series of these. Like Emily over there typing away. Say hi, Emily.
Hi.
That's right. And then you, obviously. So like just meeting
Do I have
people.
to say hi?
No. Fuck.
Hi, George.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine. You can say hi. Now, just meeting people like this just makes me feel very at home in a way, where you're just like, hey, I have people who are kind of similar to me, and every time I meet someone like this, it's like, oh, there's one more, just one. Oh wait, that sounds really bad. No, it's not like collecting people like this, but just knowing that not everyone, like there are people with similar interests as me, and not everyone's just trying to get fucked up, every single weekend. Yeah, that was my weekend, man. How about you?
I think my weekend was a very similar theme of relationships. I think for the last few podcasts, and I think even off the podcast line, we talk a lot about career, about how well we're hitting our numbers, and it's a lot more career driven. But I think this weekend was something different where I was able to find happiness from just meeting new people, like you said, and having those deeper conversations with them. So I think what happened was I was at what was it? It was like some sort of like my cousin's like housewarming party in San Francisco, and I was meeting a bunch of kids from like Harvard, Princeton, like people I normally never would talk to in my life, just because I'm never connected with them. I didn't go to Ivy League school.
Sure.
But just hearing like how they act and just the things that they like to talk about, like even though we come from two very different backgrounds,
What do
there
they
are
like to
still
talk
some similarities. What is it?
What do they like? It sounds like they're like the other. Like, what do Ivy League kids like to talk about?
Well, maybe it's just like an assumption that I had in my head where they have like a lot more of an intellectual conversation, or they like to do different things, which is certainly makes sense. I mean, there are certain topics that I couldn't really relate to, but at the same time, we're all humans at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that just hearing that they were going through similar struggles. I mean, it didn't get that deep because I just met some of these people for the first time, but it wasn't more so like what we were talking about. I think, like I was telling you earlier during dinner, it was the fact that by taking a step back, I realized like one of the strengths that I had that I always forget that you and Emily both reminded me of was being able to meet
Your
strangers.
looks.
No, oh, thank you. Now that you say it,
my bad.
but it was the ability to talk to people and open them up in a different way that they don't even know, right? Or am I phrasing it wrong?
Open them up.
Wait, okay, not like that. See, that's why I was like, I'm bad phrasing. Wait, how about you just tell me what you told me earlier?
You're very good at talking to people and making them comfortable and storytelling and articulating yourself. And basically what I'm trying to say is that you have a really good mouth.
Thank you. I feel like that's also really bad phrasing.
I know.
But okay, going back to the whole thing, like the big reflection from this week was like I said, like I think we were always talking about careers, but this time around it was more of finding happiness through a different channel.
Yeah,
And I
outside
think-
of work.
Outside of work, yeah. And that was like for you, it was reconnecting with an old friend and understanding that holy shit, you guys are on a similar timeline.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. And for me, it was meeting new people at different situations, like at a party or at some sort of housewarming event. And like this genuine curiosity to want to get to know them more,
Yeah.
and having the ability to do so. Like I forget that there's a lot of joy to be had with that.
Yeah. I'm just like, how do you do it? Like, do you how do you like start a conversation with someone and make them feel comfortable with talking to you and sharing their stories?
I think I told you this. It sounds so formulaic, and I hope it doesn't come across that way.
Oh, so you actually have a strategy.
Yeah,
Okay.
in a way. I mean, they don't follow this like book like every single like conversation I have, but the general framework is that you start it off with hi, Ryan or George, like or somehow like some sort of event, so you make an observation about everything, like oh, like what'd you think about this like DJ that we just saw, or like what'd you think about the weekend?
Wow.
So you start off with that. And then you slowly, ask very generic questions where it's like, oh, like where are you from? What do you do? The questions that are non-threatening, and then you ask enough where eventually, I think all humans have very similar experiences that you'll find some sort of commonality point, and your enthusiasm hopefully comes across genuine. Where you're like, oh my god, I didn't know you're from LA as well. Like, okay, it doesn't sound like that, but like,
Oh
it's
my
like,
god.
but like the enthusiasm just comes out like because I honestly like if I like oh my god because it's like holy shit like we have this similar background even though we just met, and like to me that's like mind blowing that exists to this day. So I think that's where my energy comes from. So like I'll find like a couple of commonality points and we'll keep talking about it more and more.
Yeah.
And my thought process behind that is by that time that person feels like they're talking to themselves because it's like oh wow this person's from LA, or like this person also loves pho, like likes ramen, so it's like I'm just talking to myself.
Yeah.
So unconsciously, they're building some sort of trust to want to keep going with
I
the
gotta be
conversation.
very careful talking to you right now.
You make it sound like it's like manipulative, but it's not. Like it's just like a matter of finding. So okay, so once you find that commonality point, and then you start to get them to kind of open up, then I'll start asking a little bit more deeper questions like about LA. Like, oh, okay, so like that's amazing that you're from LA. Like, do you remember going here and here and here? Like, how was your time in high school? Like, what was a big moment for you? What wasn't? Like, you kind of go slow. Like, you slowly peel the onion back. And for me, like, I actually want to get to know the person, so I'll ask like some of these deeper conversations, like how we. Well, it's not gonna come out of nowhere, but like I'll talk about like parenting or like your childhood, like stuff like that, and then that's where people kind of like open up about okay, this is like what's made me today. Like I was talking to someone at a party. Her and I were like, I don't know what we were talking about, but somehow I asked her about where she was from. She was from Sacramento, and she was telling me how she, of being Asian descent, she had very strict Asian parents, so she had to followed by all these different traditions. Like she felt really rebellious. Like she felt like she didn't really have anyone to really confide to because her parents were in such a different timeline than she was. So when she had to choose between colleges, So she's from Sac, so her parents wanted her to go to UC Davis, but then she made the decision to go to UC San Diego instead. And her parents were really furious. So like, the fact that you're doing this, like, we're not going to support you, so you're on your own. So she was like, okay, cool. So she literally like went to UC San Diego, found a job. She told me that she worked at like Round Table and like all these other various jobs, but she found a means to get away with it. Like, it's just like we went about that, and it's like, then I asked her, okay, with this background of not having a very close relationship with your parents, like, how do you think that shaped you to who you are today? And for her, she's like, I'm very independent, where I'm okay with doing things my way, and I don't know, like, it was just like she just slowly started to open up herself. Like, I didn't ask her that many questions. It just kind of like started to flow out naturally, and I got to know her better than knowing about her favorite sports team. You get what I mean, though? Mm-hmm. So it's like learning about that and like hearing, holy shit, like this person has their struggles that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And I think she somehow talked about like being handicapped in a way that like even I didn't even know happened with her. Like, all this just flowed so naturally, and to me, it's just like I get a lot of joy by learning about someone else's life,
Right.
and seeing not just the similarities, but it's just like a story to be told that you get.
You're learning someone else's story.
Yeah, just learning, or you're just hearing. Yeah, I guess, learning or hearing about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like fascinating.
You're like
Digging deeper. It's like, I think it's like those movies out there, is that like the really good movies are the ones that like have endings that you don't expect, like the plot twisters.
Yeah.
As you would definitely know being in the movie industry. It's the same thing. It's like when you get to talk to people, you start to realize how many layers. Maybe it's just me, but you have a lot of assumptions and judgments that are.
Yeah, of course, because like you stereotype someone, right?
Yeah.
And then you realize that they're not just a label. They're not just ABG, a fuckboy, just a Ivy League kid.
Exactly. And I think this went like completely off tangent to like the revelations of like finding myself this weekend and finding joy in different channels. No. But this was a good topic that we're talking about.
What'd you do? I want to hear about you finding yourself.
Okay, it wasn't finding myself. No, but I want to go back to this though.
Okay. Right.
I think this is a good track. I didn't know we were going to go this way.
Okay.
But.
Oh, don't worry. No, we're talking about revelations this weekend and the joy that we're finding outside of work.
Yeah.
And we talked about the great conversations that we've had with people, and which have led us like little things in life, little conversations, and learning about other people's stories. And you through
the assumptions part. That's what we're
stereotyping right? people, but realizing that they're like human beings. And I think that's funny. This is a little side, but like it's just like you just meet people. Like the first time you meet someone, right? It's just like it's exactly how they. For most people, it's exactly the way that they want you to see them. Because they've been perfecting, they've been rehearsing this front.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then just like I think what I find is interesting is how like you're peeling away that onion of who they actually are. So for you, like you're a pretty good archaeologist, just digging away down to the bare bone of it's like a dinosaur. That's what you are.
That's an interesting analogy.
But you do it so naturally because you're genuinely curious and you want to see what's underneath that skin of theirs.
That front, basically.
That front.
Interesting.
But I don't think that you'll like. It requires someone to like actually let you in completely, unless you're just kind of like raping their skin.
I don't know. Was my like methodical way
penetrating that layer of theirs.
Oh God.
No, it's like a two-way thing though, right?
Yeah, it is.
Because it's them letting you in, and not forcing your way in, and then you let them in by being genuinely curious and not having alternative motives.
Yeah.
And then they're letting you in because hey, I can trust you, and you're also sharing who you are, right? I'm sure that you tie in like what's your story too. It's like that's interesting that you said that. I can relate to you because of this, and you share. It's just like two people being vulnerable.
Yeah. No, that's a really valid point. I think it's like the same. Like it takes two to tango, right? Like it's just one person opening up doesn't mean that the other person necessarily will too. But I think it's like it takes one person to take the action though. Like if both people are just gonna keep talking about sports and leave it that way, by all means go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
but like I know that I'm not one to just wait around and hope that like a meaningful conversation will pop out of nowhere. It's like you have to ask the right questions at the right time. And I think I'm lucky enough that like sales has kind of taught me that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
This one like completely side tangent. I want to go back to just a reflection from this week though. So if you want to tie it back to a big takeaway that you had from this weekend, I know that you reconnected with an old buddy, but any other like thoughts that transpose out of this?
This weekend. Any like revelations or?
Not revelations, just reflections. Like, I mean, that's usually what the Sundays are for. If you're just like walking around on the way back
absolutely.
home.
I don't know. I wasn't thinking too much this weekend, to be honest. I woke up at like 3 p.m. and I was like okay with that. I never wake up at 3 p.m.
Yeah. But see, that's my question is like, why do you feel so much at ease this weekend more so than you did in the past?
I think it was just like not judging myself, you know, just not judging myself for some of the actions that I'm taking. I think, yeah, I just really just like it was weird. Like, okay, so I was like hanging out with Andrew, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I always like get on the Muni, the BART, and then I always go the wrong way.
I always go the wrong way.
I always get on the wrong bus. I'll be like so sure.
Other direction.
Yeah, and then I'll get on the bus, and then we started. I was like, yeah, we're going towards like Civic Center, and then it was like 20 minutes later. He was like, oh shit, we're going towards like Daly City or Oakland.
What?
And then I was like, oh shit, like my bad. And then he was just like, no, that's totally fine. And there's just like no judgment. And for some reason, that felt really good. Like it was just like this guy. It's gonna be weird. He's gonna hear this. He'd be like, dude.
Oh, you told him about the podcast?
No, I did tell him about the podcast.
Oh, okay, cool. No, that's good.
So like, it was just like no judgment, and then I was just like, wow, like, usually people like I would usually shit on someone for like.
Oh, I know, George. Actually, you're really passive about it. You don't just like shit on me completely. You just like get really quiet and you just tell you're pissed. Sorry, go back with your reflection.
No, but. That sounds so gay. This guy.
This love that you felt.
No. Hey, I can't recover now. It's too deep.
Do you want me to go over now?
No. No judgment.
That's good.
No. Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't know if I would do the same. I would usually get pretty mad at someone if they told me to get on the wrong bus and go the wrong way. So the fact that someone was like, hey, like that's fine, like we have time. Like usually I'd be pretty pissed. Not pissed, like I'd be like, dude, what the fuck, man?
Am I overanalyzing this? But do you feel like time just kind of slowed down when you said that though? Like you didn't feel as rushed. You're like, oh, I guess.
Yeah,
I felt like I had all the time in the world.
Yeah, it just like made me feel at ease. Just like
it kind of like.
It's like two people who are just like, hey, like. We're fine. Like, there's no big deal.
Like, what's the rush kind of
thing?
Yeah,
what's the rush? Like, there's no better time. There's no, not better time, but there's, like, we're just chilling. It's like no need to judge it.
Interesting. And then you felt in that moment, I mean, amongst many other things, that you just felt like at ease.
I did. I did feel at ease. No, it's just nice when you, like, what I was saying earlier, it's just like when you meet two people that have, like, similar, they just get it, you know? Mm-hmm. Just like the way, like, for me and you, like, you just get it sometimes. Not all the time, but, like, there are moments where it's just like, you get it. Like,
there's just that click.
Yeah. And it's nice when you see those, or, like, you just experience those little moments that tell you a lot about a person.
Okay.
And that makes me feel a little bit at ease. A lot more at ease.
So if I were to bring this back out to the bigger picture, right, there might be a correlation between the two of us this weekend, was that typically we find a lot of our happiness or like, I don't know, revelations, I guess, like from work, like, oh, you know, I closed this big deal, or like we got this big number, or like we're doing pretty well number-wise, and letting that kind of dictate our mood for the week.
Sure.
But it seems like this weekend we found a different channel for you, it was by not only reconnecting with a friend, but realizing that time is, in a way, slowed down and that there's other things in life to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I'm interpreting like
No,
I'm
you're
just trying to find this like this
No,
middle
you're right.
correlation.
It's
I
just like
realized.
they're like it's just like I don't know how to explain it. It's just I don't. It's just, there's just some things in your life that just like make you realize that there are just things that matter more than others.
Yeah.
Like you're grinding so hard, but why? And then you realize like it's just one moment where you're just hanging out with your grandma, and you realize that like she's at like not the end of her life, but like you're just like she's making food for you, and you're just waiting for it, and you're just like these are the moments I'm living for, like those little moments.
That's so true. Yeah.
Or like us like here, like just like not talking or just like chilling, like these little moments are the moments that we're gonna look back at and make us feel like oh like.
So the moment of us eating like dinner on suitcases in a plastic box, right?
With Emily on the side, Emily on the side using a lamp that is the only source of light that she has.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. No, but yeah,
I
keep
really
going.
got a fart. Oh, there you go. My bad. I did cover for you back then, Emily. That was Ryan who farted before.
Completely off topic, George.
I took
Let's get back to the story.
I took that loaded for you. You know that, right? Good. What were we talking about? Little moments. Little moments.
Like right now, there's like this stupid joke that you have.
Yeah.
About farting. Yeah, I guess.
It's not stupid. It's not that bad.
Hey, it's still pretty bad. It's okay.
Get your ass back.
Go back to the topic here, George. I felt the same way too. I think for me, this weekend was just meeting new people.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you about yourself.
Oh no! I didn't know why you make it sound like my hijacking the conversation.
Back to me. Back to me.
Well, I mean, clearly you're going off topic.
This is how I relate to this.
You're going off topic, so I was like, okay, I gotta like try to
Fuck your
save this.
topic too. You're just free flowing. Alright, yeah, let me ask you. Let me officially induct you into this conversation. So, going back to you, Ryan. How do you feel about these little moments?
Spare me, man.
Alright.
Yeah, well, thank you. I didn't need your permission. Jeez. Yeah, I think time just slowed down for me as well. Like, I realized...
And you just left your job, too.
Yeah. Okay,
So now
thanks
you're
for letting
like-
everyone know that.
You're on a...
Unemployed.
Correct.
But I felt like the sense of relief since that day when I left my company. And, like, this weekend was just one of the ways for me to meet others and find joy in like not career related things.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever I did this weekend had nothing. I actually went against my career, like getting too fucked up, like not sleeping enough. Like that's all like counterintuitive to having a good career. I was just having a good time, but
There you go.
that good time resulted in like I just want to relive this weekend, which is really weird. Like I've never had such a good weekend in such a long time.
Yeah.
Like meeting new
I've
people.
met you like almost every single week.
Okay,
Thanks, bro.
it's I know, no, but it's like different this weekend. I don't know what I can say. Maybe Martin Garrix was just like got a deeper level for me.
Yeah.
No, but it was meeting a lot of great people and hearing their stories and realizing going back to the plot twisters thing. Like that was so exciting to me. It was holy shit. Like
When you say plot twist, what do you mean? Like they're like
the
by
holy
way,
shit
yeah,
moments
I
where
have-
like you have like this preconceived notion of who they could be, and as the story builds on and on,
Yeah.
they're like, by the way,
I
like
have a penis.
I guess you did like I don't know. There's a sure. I didn't get that in my conversation. For me, it was like the whole like no, it's cool. It was like this girl, like for instance, a girl that like had to get 3 jobs because like her family was unsupportive of her going to UC San Diego and like her being handicapped for some reason. Like things that like I would never have known. And I was like, holy shit! Like it made me want to get to know her more and more, like just as a friend. So it was just like in that regard was just so fascinating, and I think that also went back to boosting like my self-confidence and helped me realize that. So there's a quote on the back of my phone that someone gave me a while ago, and it was like, don't underestimate yourself. Your social skills are needed by others at this time.
Sounds like a... Who said that?
I don't know, it was on a fortune cookie at some Chinese store, so who knows.
Profound as fuck.
Yeah, profounding, very, very much so.
Yeah. But I think you should give your, like, not... I think it is your genuine curiosity as well as your I think that is solely what drives your ability to like connect with people and like gather great friendships.
What about for you then when you meet new people?
Mhm.
What drives you to want to get to know them? Or
I don't know
if you do
dude.
have that drive
I'm
or
like
not.
a weird period in my life, to be honest. Like I don't actually want to meet a lot of new people. It's like I have like this. I don't, but it's kind of like before it's kind of like, oh, I just want to meet as many people, and then hopefully I just want to be everyone's friend, blah blah. And then I realized like that's so exhausting. Like I don't need that many people in my life, and I think the people like just being, they say like your friends are like who you like, you attract people like like-minded people of who
Yeah.
you are, and just like focusing on myself and then allowing people who are attracted to me come towards me, and being okay for people who aren't like similar to me or just aren't on, don't have the same values, just leave, and being okay with that.
Yeah.
And realizing that it's all part of the process, and not, you can't like keep everyone who you want to be like to stay around, because they have different timelines and they have different priorities, and sometimes you're not that priority, and that's fine. And so all we can do is just like be the best version of ourselves, and then obviously making efforts here and there to attract, to like be friends with people who you want to be friends with, and being okay if they don't be friends with you.
Yeah.
I think that's for me. Like that's what I do, and it's been working okay. Like
Yeah, it's the quality over quantity aspect.
exactly. Yeah.
So I think I also had, okay, not the same revelation, but I was listening to Logic, a really good rapper, and I think he did like a really interesting interview with Neil deGrasse, talking about like their collaboration on one of their songs.
Yeah.
And I think the one profound statement was, basically he said he'd rather be hated for who he was than loved for who he was not. And that to me was such a powerful line.
Yeah.
It's like super simple, but it makes so much sense though. And I think that really let me be myself during this weekend to just have a normal conversation. Like if you're not willing to do this with me, like doesn't matter. Like there's many other people out there too.
Exactly.
And I'm not gonna get butthurt. It's just cool. It's just like when it does happen, and it's like great. You meet people that are on the same page.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That was just a sense of joy that I got that I've been missing for such a long time. So I think that's my big recap from the week.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, that's yeah. I think what's funny is like you meet a lot of people, and then like the funny thing was like for Andrew, it's just like I've known him for a while. I just never took the time to like get to know him actually, as like ask like deeper questions, like aspirations, what are his values, what he sees, what type of values does he see when he finds friends, what does he bring to the table as a friend, and how does he like to be loved, like what are the five, like time, acts of service, affirmation, gifts, and touch. So like different ways that you like to be loved, So I was like asking questions like that. He was asking questions like that to me too. And it was weird. Not weird, but it was nice.
Would you say that if you had this conversation with him like the last time you saw him?
No, it'd be very different.
It'd be very different, right?
Yes.
So it's like kind of like a timeline thing.
Exactly.
Like, it just happened to be that, I guess both your minds just happen to know that this is...
It's like he knows what I'm talking about. I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Like we talk in a language where it's like we both know that we read similar books, and he was able to not only hold a conversation but like challenge me. That was a good feeling.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty personal to us because I think that's how we reconnected as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like our timeline just happened to mesh together.
Exactly. So the fact that it's not like there's not only you, there's him, there's not only Emily, there's other people in my life like that. That's just like a good thing. That's a good feeling, and just being like grateful for that.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I know that we wanted to kind of wrap it up from right now, but I think, this was a
Refreshing.
very refreshing.
Yeah,
I would say,
huh?
I was gonna say more interesting.
I feel refreshed.
Oh, you do? Maybe I feel more anxious out of this than refreshed.
Why?
We'll see.
You're getting butthurt that making your friends.
I don't know. I feel like you're just spinning this like. We'll talk more about this offline. But thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be trying out. We really appreciate whoever's still sticking to us for this long. I know we're still experimenting. We want to figure out what's going to work and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to throw this out there. Like, if you want to write comments about it, feel free. Like,
For sure.
I'm kind of curious to hear what people have to say about this.
Or just like if you
Have any topics you want to
Yeah,
discuss
of
or
course.
are interested in?
or if you want to join the conversation somehow. I want to do the
Guess
guest or like the Facebook Live and see how that turns out someday. But
maybe the week after I get back from LA.
okay.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Ta ta.